did we set up Montezuma's? So Simon, my husband, and I met Simon actually, I'm throwing him the perch, when we were both working as lawyers in London. He actually turned up to the law firm 6 months after I started as a trainee, and although he's a bit older than me, he'd been away doing some working on something else. I was assigned to him as his mentor because I was a bit further advanced in my training journey. So I took my mentoring very seriously, and I think a year later we were married. Yeah. So that's not essential when you're setting up a business, but we were kind of kindred spirits in that although we were working as a lawyer, we both kind of already felt quite disillusioned by it. We spent years obviously at university, very academic studying, and then that was followed by 2 years at law school and then another 2 years training in the law firm. And we really very quickly became glorified paper pushers, really well paid, and that's how they hook you in. So they pay you a lot of money, but obviously you're paying to live in London, you're commuting in at 6 o'clock in the morning and leaving at 9 o'clock at night, and I mean, it can be fun, but it's not really a sustainable way to live. So quite quickly, we got married, we did qualify. In fact, I did work for a couple of years after we qualified, but we kind of already had a plan that at some point we would definitely get out. And you almost have to get out before it's too late, before you get reeled in and you've got a massive mortgage and kids and stuff. So one day we just went into work and we resigned, and we packed in our jobs, and we put everything in storage except our rucksacks and a tent, and off we went. We were kind of very cliche, year away to sort of work out what we wanted to do with the rest of our lives. And that was spent mostly in South America. So we started in Argentina, and we sort of went the length and breadth of Argentina, Chile, up to Venezuela, right into the Caribbean islands. Obviously had an amazing time. But while we were travelling, we knew that we had to work out what we were going to do when we came back. So we kept a travel diary, which is what we did in those days, because we didn't have mobile phones. This is yeah, so obviously there was no Instagram, so instead of taking photos of everything, you wrote loads of stuff down. So this was in 1999. So while we were travelling, we kept discovering chocolate and cocoa and everything that makes it amazing. So cocoa naturally grew in the South American, the Amazon basin, and from there it was taken all over the world. But it's been there for thousands of years. So the history is very evident in South America, and we kept just thinking, it's amazing. This product is amazing that we eat every day. I was embarrassed to say I had no idea where it came from, that it comes from an amazing tree. And that the production of it is really complicated. And it's incredible that it ever gets from a cocoa bean to a bar of chocolate. So we were kind of inspired and blown away really by everything chocolate related. And as soon as we got back to the UK, we started researching the British chocolate industry and just tried to work out if there was any way that we could set up a business working with the product that we'd fallen in love with. So that's what we did. We spent the next few months I was in the British Library quite a lot, just looking at market research reports, trying to work out what was going on in the British chocolate industry. And at the time, the only retailer really was Thornton's, who you probably remember, but now they're not really a retailer. They are still around in various guises in a few supermarkets and Smiths and stuff like that. They've had their own roller coaster of a journey, but at the time they had about 150 shops on the high street. They were a big business, but they wanted to be a £1 billion business, and so in doing that they were making it very mass market, and kind of the quality was being driven down. And people were a little bit, it was very brown, the branding, people were a bit embarrassed by it, we'd kind of turn up at somebody's house with a box of Thorntons was a bit embarrassing. And we just felt that there was this gap kind of for something more premium, more exciting, more design-led, drawing on all the inspiration from our South American travels, loads of different flavour combinations, and that's really where we pitched the business. So we started with a retail business plan. We wanted to open a few chocolate shops, and we thought that would be easy, and that we would just live our days selling chocolate to happy people. We hadn't planned to make any of it. We had no idea. We were lawyers. We had no idea how to make chocolate. So we went around the UK and sourced found loads of small chocolate makers. We wanted it all to be made in this country. And then we found one slightly bigger chocolate manufacturer who was going to make all the bars and all the solid chocolates. So we have, you have quite a lot of solid chocolate products. It took us months and months to persuade our first landlord to let us take a risk on his shop in Brighton. Once we had signed, by the time we signed the lease, we were kind of 10 months away from getting back from South America. So we finally signed on the dotted line on this lease to open up the first shop. The product range was pretty much agreed with the chocolate makers. And then, so we phoned them all up to say we were ready to go. And the biggest one, in the meantime, had gone bust. So we had a lease to our name and only half a product range to put in the shop. So overnight we had to make a decision. How were we going to fill the shop? We only had half a product range. So within the next 24 hours, we basically decided that we were going to have to make it ourselves and become chocolate makers as well. I've probably got another slide somewhere. Basically, and we decided that we were going to make chocolate. We rented a tiny unit just up in the near Weststoke, Fishbourne, and it was a converted stable, so that gives you an idea of how big it was. We put in one table, one little chocolate machine, and we taught ourselves how to make chocolate, which is not an easy thing to do. It was really complicated. Oh yeah. That's our story. That's slightly more concise than I've just given you. And we overnight became chocolate manufacturers, and within 6 weeks we managed to make what we hadn't been able to source from this chocolate maker from Bombay. So that in hindsight, it was pretty disastrous before the business had even started. But we didn't really have an option. We'd already signed the lease, we had a shop, we had to fill it with something. But the decision became, in hindsight, one of the best decisions the business ever made, because it just gave us that credibility. We've now got 45,000 square feet of factory in Burdham, just south of Chichester, and we make everything. But it's just given us that credibility and the flexibility to make all of our own products, which we do now. And really just test the water. So it's quite often we'll make a small batch of something, a small batch of bacon truffles. We don't do that because I'm vegetarian, but we could do that. And just put them in the Chichester shop and see if they go, see if customers like the idea, see if they like the taste. And it's so much easier when you're making it yourself. So that was, it says 19 years ago, that was actually 22 years ago now. We opened the first shop in Brighton. Amazingly, people came and they came back again. They spent money on stuff that we'd made, which was the biggest shock to me ever. And it was amazing. The first day, we opened on a Saturday, but we didn't actually open until lunchtime because we'd been getting ready for days and days. And on the first day, we took £600, and I've been blown away by how much money that was that people were too willing to spend on stuff that we'd produced. So yeah, it was an incredible beginning. It was absolutely manic for the next few years where we didn't really see the light of day. It was 24/7. We were making chocolate in Fishbourne by night. and driving it over to Brighton by day. We had a couple of shop staff, so we were okay, we were managing, and in our first year we broke even. I have no idea how. At this point, let's not forget, we were basically lawyers. We knew nothing about business, we knew nothing about chocolate or making food or kind of health and safety or hygiene. And you have to pick it all up really quickly along the way. And kind of when the environmental health inspector knocks on your door and says, "I'm going to do an inspection today," and you're like, "I didn't even know you existed, let alone that you would come and inspect my shop." You just have to roll with the punches, and it's one of those skills of kind of keeping going is just being able to do that and being able to either say, "I put my hands up, I didn't know how to do that," or bluff it. There's definitely a lot of bluffing along the way. So what was the point of Montezuma? So really we were aiming to open a chain of chocolate shops. We wanted to be ethically sourcing all of our ingredients, where we knew the plantations where the cocoa was growing. We wanted it to be fun and the flavours to be incredible, really unusual. But we also had come from businesses. We worked in a law firm, which we really didn't like. We didn't like the bureaucracy. We didn't like how it was, there was like this, it was almost dead man's shoes. You'd wait for the senior partner to die at the top before people moved up the ladder. And at the time, it was a pretty sexist organisation, which did not embrace diversity, and it was certainly not inclusive. So it was very much about creating a workplace where we wanted to work, somewhere fun, somewhere where people actually woke up in the morning and thought, yeah, I'd like to go to work today. I'm going to see my friends, I'm going to have a really exciting meeting. Obviously that's hard to do as you grow, but they were the goals, and they still are our values today. So it was very much a values-based business. So our values, I don't know if they're actually, but they might be if you click on. Thank you. See, my hair's changed a bit.